Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Golden Opportunities Coaching YouTube channel. Welcome to those of you who are new. Welcome back to those of you seasoned veterans. What we do around here is bring about conversations of a psychological mental health coaching paradigm. Do that as often as we can, usually several times per week. We make that happen, and we do that for your listening pleasure, hopefully, so that life gets a little easier and better for you. In any event, this is the signs of toxic family issues, and if you are dealing with a toxic family, certainly you know how difficult that can be. Please feel free to reach out at PO Perception on Twitter and or in the About Me section of this YouTube page. Either one can get you in touch with me or a member of my team. We can make something happen for you from there. What are some signs you're dealing with toxic family? Well, they vary quite a bit, but pretending, if a person is constantly pretending that they are happy, healthy, and or making good decisions and or feeling like whenever they're interacting with their family there is a certain level of theater involved in it or issues related to theater involved in it that can be super somewhat negative and challenging and all that good stuff. When we begin to kind of look at what it is that we're dealing with, it can become a majorly challenging and ultimately begin to make decisions based on what other people think we should just to get their approval. And if we're pretending we don't want to anymore, it can lead to psychological breakdowns in any number of ways. Next thing to look at there is are we disconnected? And disconnected families are people that don't talk about anything. In other words, they know there's problems, and rather than discuss the problems, rather than find solutions, they just kind of avoid the conversations. The reasons that the avoiding happens ultimately becomes either there's a coping mechanism that one or more parties doesn't know how to handle what they're feeling and what they're experiencing, or the other side of that really begins to become, things coming down into a negative mindset because when we feel disconnected, we don't think the other person that we want is there or is going to listen. This then leads to the idea that we don't have a choice in the matter of how we associate with a person. In other words, we know that certain behaviors, certain beliefs, certain concepts, certain ideas are going to lead to disconnection from our family members, friends, and the people that matter most to us. And so, what begins in a toxic family is that we hide parts of ourselves or we play down parts of ourselves in order to avoid that conflict. And then that ultimately leads to kind of role playing and playing a role rather than being involved in a truly honest family dynamic relationship. And so when we have that issue, there are lots of things that come along with that, and we kind of look at things from a more directed way and or directed viewpoint pathway. Ultimately, as we begin to make decisions, it can be super challenging to know how to deal with the insecurity that comes when a person doesn't feel that they can be honest in a family dynamic situation, and especially when that comes down to feeling like they're going to withdraw support, withdraw emotional caring, or anything like that. The role playing takes over, and then codependency becomes an issue too. In other words, if the only way that one party can feel happy is if they have the other party's consistent approval on ways, and so then therefore it gives way to kind of pretending more than one should in order to maintain those level relationships, even if they aren't exactly in a healthy, dynamic way. Changing the target, in other words, it'll make me happy if you get a job, then it'll make me happy if you save more money, then it'll make me happy if you're home at a certain time every day, it'll make me happy if, and then the target is constantly changing. Toxic families do this because the one party tends to lean towards some level of narcissism, which then leads to a great deal of challenges as it relates to making decisions in a healthy, meaningful way because the need to adapt or the perception of need to adapt to the constantly changing demands of the relationship takes precedence over actually creating lasting, honest, and transparent bonds between both parties, and so then that becomes a huge issue there. So hopefully this is helpful. I encourage you to keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Until next time, everybody.